everybody, and welcome to Motorcycle.com and welcome to Barber Motorsports Park. We're here at the Barber Vintage Festival, maybe the hugest, largest, and coolest vintage motorcycle racing event in all of the US, maybe even all of the world in my opinion. But the cool thing about the Barber Vintage Festival is that it's not just for vintage bikes. They also have modern bikes too. Modern twins, modern triples, modern singles too, you name it. And that fits perfectly with what we're here to do today. As you can see behind me, there's the guys from Kramer Motorcycles. They're a little small outfit out of Germany with the US importer in North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota. So what they do is they take KTM engines, in this case for the HKR Evo 2, their first model. They take the KTM 690 Duke engine and they put it in a custom frame, a bespoke frame with sport bike geometry, suspension components, bodywork, the whole bit. At the end of the day, you got 80 horsepower at the crank, about 270, 280 pounds full of fuel. It's a super fun bike to ride for the track day or racing enthusiast. But that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here at Barber to ride something completely new. Something so new that I'm the first person in the world not employed by Kramer to ride it. It's sitting right behind me. It's called the GP2. And you might be able to guess what engine is in that. The GP2 is powered by the 790 Duke twin cylinder, the brand new 790 Duke twin cylinder. At the time that we're filming this, I'll be experiencing the 790 Duke twin before any of the US journalists even get to ride the 790 Duke from KTM. It's a pretty cool opportunity and I'm super grateful. And funny enough, for this video and for this trip, I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm the cameraman, I'm the rider. So, I'm a one-man show, I'm a one-trick pony. I'm doing the camera work, I'm riding the bike. I'm gonna try and do both somewhat well, and we'll see what happens. So come along. The bike, as you can see behind me, is still being put together. Hopefully they can finish it in time. It's always been a process since, like I said, I am the first person to ride this bike. It is a complete prototype. It's not even the finished product. It's not even a pre-production bike. This is full-on prototype KTM 790 Duke twin cylinder in a custom Kramer frame. It's called the GP2. It's a prototype. I'm gonna shake it down for the first time. Hopefully all the bolts are tight and hopefully I don't die. So let's go ride it. Here we go. The Kramer GP2. KTM 790 Duke engine. Whoa. Hear her bark and come to life. Yeah, prototype bike. Stock KTM engine, stock electronics, stock engine mapping. This is as stock as they come. So being a prototype bike, it's not quite finished and polished, but it's pretty darn close, and they feel it's close enough for me to take it on a racetrack and go ride it at the Barber Vintage Festival. So, here we go, on the hot pit. Let's go chase some people down and see how this thing goes. What a wild ride. Not bad for a prototype. Holy moly. This GP2, that 790 engine, very impressive as far as the low end and mid range go. And it's got some pretty decent over rev too, although it does kind of taper out. Handling wise, it's like the Evo 2, which changes direction super fast. This one, not quite as nimble as the Evo 2, but that's to be expected with 2 cylinders and a heavier bike, but still pretty nimble. Definitely have a lot more suspension setup issues to sort out, but overall, that was fun. We're getting there. This is cool. Okay, so like I said before, I'm riding a brand new prototype Kramer motorcycle. It's called the GP2. It's powered by the KTM 790 Duke engine. Am I the first person not employed by Kramer to ride this bike?
Oh, this is correct, yes. The very first. What an honor. Yeah. This is Marcus Kramer. His name is on the gas tank, well, the airbox cover technically, of these motorcycles. This is his baby. This company is his baby. This is the guy behind Kramer Motorcycles. Marcus, thank you for having me here. Yeah, it's so great to be here.
I'm truly honored. I'm humbled. I'm having so much fun. First, let's talk about the company. Tell me how this whole Kramer thing started.
Yeah, I used to work for KTM in R&D, and back in the days, I did race on an amateur level myself.
Yeah.
And we were building our own race bikes, and you know, we developed the bike year after year, further and further, and yeah, it was just natural that, you know, the idea was starting in my head to start my own company and building, you know, the Super Mono race bike was our first bike, you know, building this bike.
That one's powered by the 690 Duke.
Correct.
Single cylinder.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, in 2014 I made the jump and started the company, you know, with of course I have the cooperation with KTM to get the engine, so we're really working good together. And yeah, it's 4 years now already in business.
So you mentioned, or we mentioned earlier, the 690 Duke for the Evo 2 was your first model. We'll gloss over that for now, but let's talk about the GP2.
That's a new one, yeah?
Yeah, so tell me how this, or when this whole idea started and everything leading up to today, from just an idea in your brain to where we are now.
I mean, we're always planning to make the next step bike, a middle class race bike. And as soon as KTM announced that they bring the 2-cylinder in-row engine, I already had the engine in my frame, in my head. So, yeah.
So, what year was this approximately?
Yeah, it's approximately 2 years ago.
Okay.
When I got the information.
And when did you get your first engine?
The very first engine I got 3 months ago.
3 months ago?
Yep. I mean, we had data before, so we were working on CAD before, and the bike is pretty much done in CAD.
Okay.
And this is the very first real prototype we have.
Yeah.
So yeah, now let's say the real hardware development starts, and the plan is to have the bike ready for customers in about 12 months, so that we can deliver in late summer, autumn of 2019.
Yeah. So you're telling me that this motorcycle behind me, it didn't exist 4 months ago?
Correct.
Wow. Wow. So from a horsepower standpoint, the stock engine is about 110?
It's 105 homologated.
105
so we
at
should,
the crankshaft?
Yes. So we should be easily at 115 with a
nice tune.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully a bit more.
Hopefully a bit more.
That's why we're going for everything. Yeah. So it's all custom built. It's not taking from other bikes which are on the market and trying to put it on our bike. So everything is designed and produced as we want, and the customer wants it.
So at the end of the day, you're just hoping about 115 horsepower, hopefully more.
Hey, you're nailing me on numbers.
Well, no. It's not so much that. The thing that impresses me about the Evo 2 is how light it is.
Yeah.
What is the weight of the GP2 roughly? Approximately?
Approximately. It will be between 135 and 140 kilograms. with oil and water, everything
ready to go.
Ready to go without fuel.
Without fuel.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you have to do to get that 790 engine? Because from what I understand, you basically modified the Evo 2 frame and chassis to accept this engine, right?
Yes.
In a nutshell, putting it short.
Yeah. It's a new frame, new swing arm. The big change will be the electrics on the 790. Some of the parts are still parts from the Evo 2. The plan is by beginning of next year to have let's say pre-production bike with final wiring harness, final ECU, final everything to go out and race in British Superbike in the GP2 class with this bike, and further develop the bike on the racetrack on real racing situations.
Yeah. Well, Marcus, it's quite a machine. I've gotten a chance to ride it now for a day, a couple of sessions yesterday on the bike. You and Joe both stressed to me that this is a prototype, so it's definitely not even a pre-production bike.
Yes.
And it's really cool because usually the bikes I ride, they're finished, polished. A whole test team has gone through it and made sure everything is correct in the way they should be. This bike behind me is in that phase that many of those test teams for the manufacturers never want the public like me to see. But that being said, it's a really damn good motorcycle as a prototype. There's a lot of potential there, a lot of things that could be and will be improved upon, of course. But considering that this motorcycle didn't even exist 4 months ago, this is incredible.
Yeah.
This is incredible. So I think what's left to do now is ride it some more and hopefully cut my lap times further and turn some more heads.
We help you with that. Yeah.
So here we are. It's the end of day 2 of practice at the Barber Vintage Festival. It's actually spread out over 4 days. Thursday and Friday are practice days, and then Saturday and Sunday is race day. Today is Friday. It's now the end of the second day of practice, and boy, have we changed that GP2 Kramer from when we first got it yesterday. We're making progress, which is really all I can ask for, considering this motorcycle didn't even exist 4 months ago. So when we say it's a prototype, it really is a prototype. This is your motorcycle, it's your name on the gas tank, well, on the fake airbox cover gas tank thing.
It is, yeah.
What are we doing right now?
You said you wanted to have some lighter springs in there, so we're changing the springs in the front end so that you can go even faster than today.
No pressure. Lots of things we're just kind of guessing on before we actually got to ride it. A lot of guesswork went into it. Of course, there was CAD drawings and modeling and simulations, but you don't know how it's going to be until you actually ride it. And straight away we figured out, okay, these suspension settings are too stiff for me. Change those out, put new springs in it, softer springs. The bike's a completely different animal. Other than that, man, what a machine. For being 3 months old, it's quite an achievement. And some of the classes I'm entered in are against really powerful motorcycles. We're talking 1299 Panigales, World Superbike spec, EBR, really fast bikes. And here I am with a 105 horsepower to the crank Kramer 790 trying to keep up. So tomorrow, Saturday, there's what they call the Pro Challenge, which is where the big boys are playing, and I'm stupid enough to have entered that race, and they did a qualifying for that. I qualified 7th out of, I don't know, 10 to 15 people. Yeah, 7th, I'll take 7th, considering the other bikes in front of me are way more powerful than mine. And considering this bike is so new, and the guys in front of me are all Moto America or even British Superbike stars, little old me, I'll take what I can get. So, onwards and upwards, tomorrow, Saturday, the first race day. Let's check back in later. Peace. So what are my impressions so far of the Kramer GP2? Well, right away, that 790 twin engine is a really fun engine. Makes really good bottom end power and mid-range power, and has surprisingly good over rev too, especially considering it wasn't designed to be a sport bike engine. So it's a really flexible engine with good power considering what it is. There's a lot more potential for where that engine could go. There's no quick shifter on that bike. I'm shifting it the old-fashioned way, so I mean, I'm losing a little bit of time there. Other than that, it's a really flexible engine. It's a really easy motorcycle to ride fast, which is all you can really ask for. It changes directions really well, and it feels really planted on its side with that steel trellis frame surrounding it. Even though it's a prototype that's based on their Evo 2 with the 690 single, when it's leaned over, it still feels really solid, really confidence-inspiring. Stopping power is bonkers. It's great. It feels really good. Obviously, you got the steel-braided lines. I'm out-braking a lot of bigger bikes just because they have so much more mass to stop, and I can dive in there and hit the brakes and stop and turn underneath them. It's really cool. From an ergonomic standpoint, the GP2 is surprisingly roomy and comfortable. I can scoot all the way back, get my elbows into a tuck, and they're not touching my knees, which is more than I can say about a lot of sport bikes on the market today. There's a lot of room in the cockpit for me to move up, move forward, move side to side, put my arms or my legs where I want them to be. Surprising for such a diminutive motorcycle, such a small motorcycle. There's a lot of room. The adjustable pegs are in their highest position and they don't feel that cramped to me. I have a lot of room still and I can get off pretty well. I'm just really impressed, even though I shouldn't be surprised by how good this GP2 handles. I'm getting my elbow on the ground, which is always fun to do. But yeah, so first impressions are really positive. I can't believe this motorcycle has only been in existence for 3 months. Just wrap your head around, here, ride a 3-month-old motorcycle, one of one. There's only one in the world and you're looking at it behind me. It's unreal what they've done. So onwards and upwards. Tomorrow is race day and so is Sunday. Hopefully I can do these guys proud. Well, you're probably wondering how the GP2 did and how I did riding it. Well, I was entered in a total of 5 races on the GP2, and let's start with the big money race, the pro race, the one for all the marbles. There were 3 standout riders and bikes in this field. There was Jeff May aboard his EBR Superbike that he campaigned with the Moto America series. There was Taylor Knapp, also a former Moto America star, now Dunlop test rider, riding a Ducati Panigale 1299. Then there was Tommy Bridewell, a British Superbike star, front runner, top guy aboard a AHRMA-run, which is similar to a Kramer actually, a bespoke frame with a Ducati engine in it, and this one he was riding was a 1299 engine AHRMA-run, the very first one. All 3 of those guys, top-notch riders, and their bikes were making, I'm sure, more than double what the GP2 was making. So to say I was outclassed is a story of my life, but it's also putting it mildly. That being said, the GP2 did great. We got lapped by the top 3 guys, which doesn't surprise me. And in so doing, I kind of lost my concentration and ended up finishing 8th, which is 1 less than what I qualified at. But I didn't finish last. Definitely turned some heads in that race. I was definitely not outgunned. Other than the 3 top guys, my lap times were sort of close to the rest of the field. Definitely in the mix, and were I a more talented rider, probably could have done more to bridge the gap between the guys ahead of me. In the other races we were in, the top names were not in those races, but I was still the bike with the least amount of horsepower in all the rest of the races. That being said, I got a couple of 4ths, got a 7th I think, not so great, but I was this close to winning a race. I was hanging in 2nd behind another AHRMA-run who was out-motoring me whenever he could, but I could get him back in the corners, which is one of the strengths and beauties of the GP2. But at the end, I would pass this rider in the last turn almost every lap, only to get passed back before the line. And that's what happened again in this Formula Thunder race. I passed this rider at the last turn, trying to swerve across the racetrack a little bit, but alas, I still got 2nd place. the Piero Bond pipped me at the line right here. Very sad and disappointing. Then again, can't be too mad. This GP2 was really awesome. Marcus, I can't thank you enough. This is such a great opportunity. Thank you so much.